We're talking to experts about off-highway vehicle recreation in the vast public lands in Southern Nevada. That's this week on Nevada Week.
Support for Nevada Week is provided by Senator William H. Hernstedt and additional supporting sponsors.
Off-highway vehicles, or better known as OHVs, provide motorized means to access our outdoor resources. There are countless types of recreational and travel pursuits within this sector, given the expansive public lands surrounding us. And therefore, there's also countless vehicles and support needs and unique destinations. All this, of course, translates to just as many unique economic drivers. And the future seems bright with COVID-19 restrictions ending and a potential new federal lands bill on the horizon that could protect and preserve local OHV areas. But other considerations are at play, of course, protection of environmentally fragile resources and also the expansion of other industries that require a lot of land. So what does this mean for the future of local OHV industries? What impact does it have or could have on our economy, the environment, and of course our own recreational pursuits? Well, our panel aims to answer these questions. Please welcome Nikhil Narkade, OHV Program Manager for the state's Department of Conservation and Natural Resources; Kevin Bailey, Club President of the Vegas Valley Four-Wheelers; Philip Fell, Chairperson for the Nevada OHV Commission; and Stephen Leslie, Assistant Field Manager for the Division of Resources at the Bureau of Land Management's Las Vegas Field Office. Well, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We wanted to jump right into the conversation and talk about our first big conversation topic here, which is what's the state of OHV in a region like Southern Nevada? And Kevin, I wanted to go to you. COVID has been very interesting in this respect. We've had guests on before talk about some of the other recreational pursuits, outdoor recreational pursuits in Southern Nevada, which all have seemed to increase during COVID-19 and not decrease. Are you seeing the same on the OHV side?
Speaking from the full-size four-wheel community, from the Jeeps to pickup trucks, Overlanders, and a side-by-side world, which is the single, two-seat, and four-seat sand vehicles out there, we have definitely seen people getting out and recreating. The wonderful thing about being in the outdoors with your families or friends, social distancing can definitely happen by being in a vehicle with your family. You're not interacting in a big group together on top of each other. You're out and about and away from everybody. Over the last few weeks, we've seen more and more people get out into the Logandale Trail system in Moapa Valley. The parking lot, the staging lot is full, and it's been full for the last 14 months.
And Kevin, what's your take on, let's compare this maybe to the mountain bike sector and bikes were sold out in stores. Is it similar on the OHV side? Do you have any sense of, are these new users that are kind of coming in here, or is it just everybody's using their equipment now and really getting out?
I believe that it's definitely users getting out. People from, in the world that I'm in, the full-size rigs, people are just getting out and wheeling, as we say. The challenge that came into place is the experience of the COVID-19 pandemic is parts were not available.
Nikhil, I wanted to come to you and maybe just give us some more context here on how many users we're talking about. Do we have any sense of how big our OHV population is, either statewide or in a region like Southern Nevada?
Absolutely. So I would definitely agree that our OHV ridership is increasing. Currently, we've got approximately 48,000 OHV registrations, kind of as a number to gauge at least how many OHVs are operating across the state in Nevada. Even with just our heavy use numbers or increasing numbers through COVID, we do want to make sure that we're recreating responsibly and kind of respecting the land use principles, even while we're out riding our OHVs.
Yes, and Nikhil, great point. Let's go to Steve. Steve, let's talk more specifically about that. And again, with kind of a focus on the state of right now, what kind of land use are we seeing here? Kevin mentioned a lot of different types of four-wheel vehicles. Phil, we're going to get to some other vehicles that we need to include here as well. Are we seeing a specific type of land use? And then on top of that, what are some of the sensitive areas that are top of mind to an organization like BLM?
So, I'd agree with both Kevin and Keel. We've seen a meaningful increase in all forms of recreation across BLM lands, especially during the pandemic and over the last 14 months. We place traffic counters, road counters, so we expect to have hard numbers on what that increase actually looks like on BLM land in Southern Nevada. But looking at initial projections, I'd say there's probably been a 50% increase just in the last 14 months alone. In a place like Logandale, we started seeing that just as soon as closures of other entertainment and recreation opportunities started being restricted at the beginning of the pandemic. Just an uptick in phone calls, an uptick in visitation, real genuine interest in getting out as a safe and just an excellent way to enjoy public lands in Southern Nevada. Now
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. Oh, I was going to say you had also asked about some sensitive areas and resource concerns that we're always mindful of. The one thing that I would highlight, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, is the threatened desert tortoise, and that always is a factor when we are talking about all forms of recreation, motorized recreation in particular.
And anything else? There's any particular vegetation or let's actually take a step back and let's talk about the vehicles themselves. Are there any major concerns related to any of the OHV that are having more of a larger macro impact on any of our resources in some of these areas?
I think for the general public and for the groups that we're talking about, like in places like Logandale or at Nellis Dunes, where it's the Jeeps, the all-terrain vehicles, the single passenger all-terrain vehicles, the side-by-sides where it's two passengers, the larger buggy type vehicles, we're not seeing a lot of additional. We're not concerned about a lot of additional resource impacts. As they start getting larger and have higher speed capacities, that's where we see increased impacts, and we have some additional concerns. Those higher speed, larger vehicles, they're heavier, they can cause damage to soil resources. They can certainly impact the vegetation communities in a place like the Mojave Desert, where it can literally take hundreds of years to recover. That's of special concern. And then as you increase speed, of course, then you start losing the ability to avoid resources on the ground, as you see. So a Jeep or a side-by-side or even on a motorcycle, the participants have better control over what they're doing. And they're not out there to for adrenaline, right? They're out there to enjoy the environment and really observe and be a part of it. So.
And Phil, I wanted to come to you and talk a little bit about maybe that ratio of users out there. You, of course, your background's in the two-wheeler aspect here. We want to talk specifically about that and how many are accessing the terrain and are going slow versus speed versus fast, and then what kind of terrain is being used there. Do you have any idea of what the ratio is there?
It's hard to pin down the actual ratio, especially in the last year. So much in the demographic has changed. The most recent study I've shown is 1 in 3 Nevadans own an OHV. So there's, a lot of people in Nevada that OHV is near and dear to their heart, regardless of what type of vehicle they're in. Side-by-sides are the largest from the manufacturer standpoint, the largest increase in sales off the dealer lots. Similar to what you said with like mountain biking industry, dealers are having trouble keeping stock of all sorts of OHVs, but especially side-by-sides in. And it is becoming a little problematic with the ease of entry into side-by-sides. You can get a very high horsepower vehicle that's very capable off the showroom floor now, and not a lot of OHV experience and training and education on potential resource damage and impact to wildlife and environment, similar to what BLM is saying and seeing with a lot of these new vehicles. Whereas a dirt bike, there's a little bit more of trial by fire, I guess is an easy way to say, where it's hard to take a dirt bike off at showroom floor, your first ride, and really get into a sensitive area easily. Whereas side by sides, yeah, they're so capable off the showroom floor, is becoming a little bit of an issue on a management side for the BLM, and it's a tough problem. I feel your pain on how to manage that, and a lot of the big priority for the OHV Commission is helping to educate users on responsible usage, so we can maintain these trails and keep the resource impact to a minimum, so they stay open long term and everybody can enjoy them.
And Kevin, I wanted to come to you there. Let's talk a little bit more about this balance between growth and access, and then of course preservation. And it all does seem to lead towards that level of understanding, of really understanding how those three balance and how they interweave. As Phil mentioned, we've got a huge increase in side-by-sides here. Maybe the learning curve isn't as steep as it is for motorcycles, or I'm assuming a lot of the Jeepers too, the four-wheelers. Give us an assessment. When you're out there, boots on the ground, is there a good understanding of the balance between those, or do we need a lot more education?
Boundaries are definitely a biggest challenge here in Southern Nevada. A lot of people think that just because you can see the ground, you can see the trail, you can see the rock, you're going to go off and wheel on it. And that's not the actual truth. The areas that are open, the Jean Dry Lake Bed, the Nellis Dunes, Nelson area, Bitter Springs, Logandale Trails, the Mesa, Weiser Valley, those are all public lands to recreate on. And we're seeing lots of more people get out there. And the challenge is knowing where to go and not where to go. And you'll see it a little bit later on, just this clip of the cleanup. That's in an area that's closed to recreation to full-size vehicles. Yet we had to haul junk that people were taking out there and dropping off.
Kevin,
it's a great place.
Kevin, you could have been more
for
kismet.
People to get out.
I'm sorry, absolutely, and you couldn't have been. Your timing couldn't have been better. I did want to transition right to that clip, and let's do that. And based on this conversation we're having here and the balance between growth, access, and preservation, we want to take a closer look at that balance. And our Nevada Week team found that we didn't have to go that far outside of even where our studio is right now. Take a look.
The desert may be deceptively still sometimes, but it is, in fact, full of life. This site, called the Great Unconformity, sits at the edge of Las Vegas, where the city meets the open land.
We have this urban nature interface that's all around the city. So it's 360 degrees all the way around is nature right up against the urban area. And people dump in those places. We're not in the trash removal business. We have one person who is a contractor from Great Basin Institute, and he is the desert cleanup coordinator. It's just one guy for 3.1 million acres of land. What he does is coordinating with other people and other groups to come out and get volunteers to help clean up some of these areas.
Here at the Fort Apache Caves, in another area where homes and businesses bump up against the desert, volunteers from the off-road community have come together for a cleanup.
Even though 2 hours ago, believe it or not, this area was raining, snowing, wet, I still had 50 to 60 crazy off-roaders that showed up and ready to put up or shut up and clean up the desert. So I asked junk luggers if they'd come out and donate some trucks. Bringing out 2 trucks today. We've got 1 truck almost already filled up in less than an hour.
In my district, we have a lot of undeveloped lands like this, a lot of BLM lands and county lands, and people just drive up and dump their garbage over here. And we have people who are shooting off fireworks. I picked up a lot of fireworks while I was out here today. And so it just looks pretty trashy.
It irks me to no end to know that people are that lazy. We have this wonderful garbage disposal system in our city, and why are they jumping it out here? It's because it's free.
In addition to being unsightly, there are a host of economic and environmental costs associated with littering and dumping in the desert.
It's really on us as residents, as citizens, to get out here and do our part to clean up after those who aren't doing their part.
I feel like it's important to bring the kids out to have a sense of community, to make sure that we take care of our community and our lands, so that we are a big Jeep community. And so we use a lot of our lands for off-roading, and we want to take care of them as much as we can so that we can still utilize them.
Well, thank you, Heather. We really appreciate that. And what a great transition to let's talk a little bit about the future here. And to Kevin's point, you know, a lot of garbage, but so thankful for our OHV users here, so engaged in the cleanup. And Nikhil, I wanted to come to you. We also, of course, have a state commission, OHV commission, that is also as equally engaged statewide, and a grant program that I wanted you to speak to. I was looking through some of the priorities of that grant program yesterday, and a lot of alignment here. Of course, there is enhancement, restoration, planning, mapping, a lot of things that can really move OHV use into the future. What are the top priorities for the commission?
Absolutely. So we do have the OHV grant program that's available. It awards approximately $1 million per year in order to mitigate some of these issues that we're seeing on our public lands. We definitely want to prioritize the rider experience. We want OHV user groups, clubs, such as the one that we just saw, using these grant funds to build partnerships with our federal land managers. I think that right now, with our increased visitation, this is the opportunity for multiple generations of OHV users to really step forward and push that kind of stewardship of our public spaces. So again, the priority of our OHV grant program is to focus on projects that improve the rider's experience and then improves the education and kind of outreach component of responsible OHV recreation.
And I noticed, I went through some of your local awardees. Steve, we'll talk to you just a sec. Some of the local BLM offices are recipients of those grants. A lot of Metro police and sheriff's offices also are recipients of that grants. And then there are some nonprofits there, but I noticed not a lot. We've got one of them right in front of us, Vegas Valley Four Wheelers. Are they eligible for this type of grant funding?
Absolutely. We encourage groups like the Las Vegas Valley Four-Wheelers to come in and pick up some of those grant funds and put them to a project that's really important to that user group. A similar example of a most recent project in Clark County is a partnership with the ATV Dunes and Trails Club down there to take care of the Lovell Canyon trail system. And that's out at the Spring Mountains recreation area. So again, building that partnership between the OHV user groups and their local land manager.
And let's talk a little bit more about the user group specifically here. Phil, of course, you have your feet in both boats, so to speak, or both Jeeps, I guess is a better term here. Being that you are a commission member on that commission and you're a user yourself, let's talk about the priorities and transition more to that user side of your role here. What are some of the priorities that you see as we look into the future of OHV use?
Yep. For me personally, as a user, my priority is always trails. Like, it's, no secret to anybody that's been to a Nevada OHV commission meeting. That's really what I try to drive home, because that's what people are going out and trying to enjoy. They're trying to enjoy the trails. So whatever I can do to help get funds to improve our trail system, that gives more people opportunity to go out and enjoy the outdoors, enjoy OHV, and to get away from people. Similar to what Kevin said, is part of the experience is being out in nature and being away. So as we get more and more people using these trails, we need an expanded network so that use is kind of dispersed over a greater area. Not everybody's congested into one spot. One of the things I think you're seeing is a little bit of gap in how the state of Nevada has managed, or the state of Nevada's BLM has managed the resource management plans recently. We're a little bit behind in the management plans from the federal land managers, to where there's not a lot of designated recreation sites. So user groups can't always apply for these funds to maintain the trails, even though they're riding. If they're not designated by the federal land manager, they can't officially go out and maintain these sites and these trails. So it puts the user groups wanting to pick up and maintain the trails that they ride, but not able to because the federal land managers are behind in a lot of their planning and scoping documents. So we're in a little bit of a tough situation with that in Nevada.
Steve, I want to go to you and maybe walk us through the process of something like a resource management plan. The brief research I've done, it looks like each one is designated per office, so they're a lot more local in that way. Is the process really begin and end at the local office? And how and why maybe would some of these resource plans be late, so to speak?
It's yeah. So as you pointed out, resource management plans for the BLM are down to the district level, and so Las Vegas is within the Southern Nevada district in Nevada. Those plans are put together with a lot of input from the public, including recreation groups, from other types of interest groups, from other cooperating federal agencies, state agencies. And the decisions that are put together in those plans are then they're under the authority of the state director. They really are Nevada-related plans. The current plan for Southern Nevada was published in 1998, and so you're not wrong that we are kind of behind the curve in adapting to current situations. Those plans are very sort of large scale, broad land use allocations. In our current plan, we do identify special recreation management areas. Generally, back then it was good to focus on dispersed recreation opportunities. A much lower population in Southern Nevada back then, not as much interest in the different recreation opportunities. Of course, also different uses. We are a multi-use agency. So where we see that we've really fallen behind, as is a good observation, is staying in tune with what the current demands are in the land and how we step down from those plans to address that is a priority of our office in moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, and as you said, 1998, our population has doubled. Of course, not only more people accessing that land, but for so many other uses. I wanted to get a better idea too, Steve, of just what kind of input on a plan like that are you getting from user groups that we have around our virtual table here, being that seems to be a big part of that informing those plans on usage is so important. What is BLM doing to kind of incorporate that feedback?
So, I'll just as an example, we've talked about the Logandale Trails area near Moapa, and that is probably one of our priority areas for planning for motorized recreation. Now, that is not an area designated as a special recreation management area under our current plan. And so what we've heard from user groups, from the public, we've done a lot of outreach through formal recreation surveys to really try and understand what kind of outcomes people are looking for in that area. We will be initiating a process to complete a site-specific recreation area management plan that would address some of the questions that have come up today about designated trails, about designated areas, improved infrastructure, meeting the demands of the users that are out there, and also trying to understand what the general public in Southern Nevada is looking for in a site like that.
And Kevin, I wanted to come to you and get your perspective as well too, and I wanted to bring into the conversation too a federal lands bill that is being proposed right now. Senator Cortez Masto is one of the main sponsors, the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act. Looking through that bill, there's more than 100,000 acres that would be designated for OHV use. I was looking at their map this morning. They seem to be areas that have small designations for more open use and not trail use necessarily. That kind of sounds encouraging, maybe to the layperson as myself. But let's hear from you. When you're looking at a big lands bill like this, and is that enough expansion, enough use for OHV?
We always want more land to be able to recreate on. The challenge with this current bill right now is there is a good chunk that they're going to designate as wilderness. And when designate will eliminate access to two-wheel vehicle, four-wheel vehicle that is motorized, it's basically land that you can walk on. We need more public lands for us to be able to recreate based on the fact over the last 10 years, our population has doubled and people are getting out more and recreating on a consistent basis. Don't deny access, increase awareness. That's the key.
And what do you think's the solution there then? Is it going back to these resource management plans and making sure that those potentially designated wilderness areas at least have certain parcels that are accessible via some of these trail systems that already exist?
Personal opinion right now, everything that is currently open needs to retain being open for generations to come. Don't close more, open more.
Well, thank you as always for joining us this week on Nevada Week. Now, for any of the resources discussed on this show, please visit our website at vegaspbs.org/Nevada-Week. You can also always find us on social media at Nevada Week. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.